Good evening, YouTube. Hardball Crazy coming back at you with a video. Tonight I'm doing a little bit of a showcase video of Hall of Famers, but they're not really technically considered Hall of Famers. They're not in the inductee list, and they're not really Hall of Famers per se, but they are celebrated during Hall of Fame weekend, and they're giving speeches during Hall of Fame weekend. So I'm talking about, if you haven't figured out by now with the item in front of you, is the Ford Frick Winners, which is given out annually to the baseball announcers who given back to the game and honor to the game and lifelong commitment to the game of baseball. Ernie Harwell is my all-time favorite. This is one of my prized possessions. He was one of the first Ford Frick Winners, 1981. I think like about 79 or so when they first started naming winners. And this is his first book he wrote, and talk about his career as a broadcaster. And I have this autographed by Mr. Harwell, one of my prized possessions. So today I'm going to showcase my cards from my Ford Frick collection, Ford Frick Winners. There's a few cards you could, and here's 5 former players and plus a few broadcaster cards. And every one of these cards I try to, just like my Hall of Fame collection, is try to get cards of them during their playing days. First of all, the man that the award is named after is Ford Frick, former commissioner and National League president. He was once a ghostwriter for Babe Ruth back in the 20s. That's how he got his fame. So the award was named after him in his honor. I'm not sure exactly all the reasons behind it, but this is a 59 Topps card number 1. He was a commissioner at the time. So this is a executive days card, active card, whatever you want to call it, Mr. Ford Frick. Of course, there's Ernie Harwell. I got to start out with my Ernie Harwell card. This is a 2004 Topps fan favorites. Tigers broadcaster, my all-time favorite people in baseball. He retired in 2003. This is a 2004 card, so I sort of consider this as a broadcaster days card, just like a last player card who retired in 2017, yet still has a 2018 cards. I kind of consider the same vein with that. I grew up in Michigan, out in the country, so I didn't really have cable growing up. So during the summertime in the 80s, TV, if you're old enough, TV shows were basically in summer was just reruns of the old fall shows. There's no new programming, so there was really much to watch TV. Plus, the outdoors would be nice. So I listened to a lot of Ernie Harwell games on the radio growing up, and he became one of my all-time favorite announcers, people, fans. He never says anything negative, anything about the game, the players, or anything. One class act. Of course, in the same era, my 1B, I guess, a second favorite announcer, right there next to Harwell, is Mr. Scully. He recently retired, had an amazing career with the Brooklyn Dodgers. I could listen to his voice all day long. Stories about baseball, history, anything in life. He described how paint dry, and I still probably be enthralled by it. This is a 2013 Panini Cooperstown card. That's a cool set. It's kind of cool how the set back there has talks about a game he was participating in, and a little bit of a line score. This is the 1988 World Series Game 1. You all know what that game is. Scully. Dodgers announced for years. Including the Dodgers, he was also many years part of NBC crew doing NBC Game of the Week, All-Star Games, World Series, and so forth. And his broadcast partner was none other than Joe Garagiola. Went all the time. I can listen to those two all the time. And there's a few games on YouTube you can watch. You can see these two broadcast games. Here are those two. Many games, former games are on YouTube. So feeling nostalgic, go back on YouTube and watch the old NBC Game of the Week, World Series Game, All-Star Game with Scully and Garagiola. And if you're young enough, too young to remember them, go back and experience what we all experienced as a kid in the 80s. This is a 53 Bowman, Joe Garagiola. Shout out to Bowman 53. He actually, this is one of 5 players, former players who are Ford Frick winners. Here's number 1, Joe Garagiola. Another broadcaster NBC had back in the 80s, middle infielder from the New York Yankees. You recognize his voice as soon as you hear it if you grew up, is Tony Kubek. He did a lot of games with Bob Costas in the 80s. He also did other games prior to NBC, prior to Bob Costas. And his voice is very recognizable if you grew up of the era. Middle infielder for the New York Yankees in the 50s and 60s. Tony Kubek. This is obviously a 63 Topps card. Another middle infielder from the New York Yankees who became a Ford Frick winner is a legend in his own right. He was a broadcaster for San Diego Padres for many years. Actually, he was a manager for the Padres very briefly. And just like Ted Williams, he was lost service time with Korean War and World War II. But Ted Williams actually only fought, had military action in one of the wars, World War II. Jerry Coleman was the only major league player to have military action in 2 wars. He has medals, war medals, and Ford Frick winner Jerry Coleman. Milling for the Yankees in the 50s and 60s. This is 57 Topps card. I believe he was Rookie of the Year 1 year. World Series champion, obviously. Also, I got it from him is this 2003 Yankees signature card, insert card, probably the Yankees. This, you can get this really dirt cheap. It's not expensive whatsoever. You get a card of broadcast legend, military honoree. It's a good card to have in your collection. As you see, that's 3 ex-players right there are 4 Frick winners. Mr. Jerry Coleman, Kubek, and Garagiola. Of course, we cannot go without broadcasting without the current announcer of the Milwaukee Brewers, who's been doing Brewer games for many years. And TV personality, commercial, movie star, you name it. Put him in the front row here. Way in the front row, Bob Uecker, 65 Topps. Harry Doyle, if you know Major League fan fame. Down the front row, middle light commercials from the days. Funny about this 65 Topps is that he actually batted right-handed in Bob Uecker style. He decided to pose the bat left-handed, so it's kind of a Uecker-esque card. One of the great ambassadors of the game, Bob Uecker. And the 5th and final former player who was a Ford Frick winner, as a longtime CBS announcer, and I guess he does Cardinals games still, is Tim McCarver. This is my 81 Fleer card of him. Last year playing days card. It's got all his complete stats on it. He's a Cardinals catcher from back in the 60s with Bob Gibson and the World Series teams. And by in his career, he was a Steve Carlton's personal catcher of the Phillies. This is part of my playing days last year card collection. He has to have a last year card of a player and have to have their complete stats in the back. Part of my collection. Doesn't matter what set it is. Just has to be the final year and has complete stats on it. Mr. Tim McCarver, CBS longtime announcer. There's my 5 playing day cards. There's also a set came out in 2004. Only have one of the active Hall of Famers or 4 Frick winners. Is the 2004 Fleer Grace the Game Greats announcing greats insert set. And this is Marty Burnham of the Cincinnati Reds, pictured with Johnny Bench. It's like a 10-card set of announcing greats. And each card, each player announcer is paired with a player of that team for whatever reason. I guess make it more collectible. That way, Reds collectors wanted Johnny Bench collectors to pick this up, and instead of having, announcers are not the most collectible people and thrown aside. But this is Marty Burnham of the Reds. Longtime Reds announcer. I think he's retiring at the end of the year. Might be wrong. There's also in this set Harry Carey, Harry Callis, and John Miller, who were all Ford Frick winners who were active at the time. Ernie Harwell was in the set too, and obviously Vin Scully, but I already have cards of them. But Carey, Callis, and Miller I still need for my active Hall of Fame Ford Frick winners list. There you have it. That's my showcase. If you have a Hall of Fame collector and you want to expand your collection a little bit to a few players who are Hall of Famers yet not Hall of Famers, who are considered greats of the game, and Hall of Famers are announcers are beloved as much as some of the players. So it's a little showcase for you if you want to expand your collection or your Hall of Fame collection a little bit. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.